record this one. Let's, maybe. Let's see here.
Get rid of this. Do I just push got it?
All right. Okay. More will trickle in here. We'll get started so we're not here so late. It's not too long of a process or presentation, so I won't keep you too late, but I definitely appreciate you all being here to learn more about the gathering. My name is Stacy Burke. I am on staff with many hats. I am the supply contact coordinator, so if you have a call in the office, you'll most likely hear my voice. I'm also the Growing Young coordinator here, but I'm coming here today for as the Gathering Synod Champion is what the ELCA is calling it. Yeah, so I would love to, let me share my screen here. And so, there we go. Okay. So you can see my screen that shows the little welcome with the little yellow hand.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. At this point, since I'm sharing screen, I cannot see all of you. I do have the chat open, so if anybody has any questions or wants me to go back or something, please just pop into the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. If you just physically raise your hand, I won't be able to see you. All right. So I would love to know who's here so I can get an idea of what kind of representation we have here from our synod. So if you would like to put your name in the chat, what congregation you're from, what kind of ministry you do in that congregation, and what city that congregation is too. I would also love to know if you've ever been to a gathering before. You can either have been either an attendee or a chaperone. That would be helpful to know, just so I know where we're coming from and what we can do together. So if you pop those in, I'd love to get to know everybody from all over our synod. Our synod is so large, it's pretty crazy. Let's see.
Oh,
Anyone chatting?
so to do this.
There we go. All right. We got Amber here. She's a youth leader from Holy Spirit Lutheran. Nice. Yes, the New Orleans 2012. I was there too. That was a really good one. And Kristen Kelly, you're here from Allegheny. And you attended youth gathering in 2006. Is that Ubuntu, maybe? I got the Ubuntu necklace on if it was.
Let's see.
Down
here.
Harvey's too, from St. John's.
Click that.
And you were at the gathering as a youth in 1986. That's awesome.
Click right here.
That'd be
Right
great
here.
to hear. I love that.
Click it right there.
Yeah.
Right. Anybody else? There we go. Becky East, there you are. From Advent, West Lawn, very nice. And you were at the gathering in Houston, very nice. That was a good one too. Oh, cool. All right. Anybody else? If not, I can continue. And again, if you have any questions, please pop it in the chat. I do have it up over here so I can keep an eye on it. If I'm going too fast, if you have a question, just please stop me. That's great. And Amy, you're here. And you're youth leader at St. John's, and you went to Houston. Very nice. Yes, yes. All right. So it seems like most of us have been to a gathering, which is awesome. Well, this might be a little news for us here. There are some new things though, some exciting new things going on, which I'm so excited to share with you. But let's jump in here and get ourselves pumped up with this awesome little promotion for this year's gathering.
Testing 1, 2, 3, here I go.
right. So if we've been to a youth gathering, that must have pumped us up, because it's such a great feeling. Being with that many people in that type of space. I know I'm really excited to go. It's been a really long time since we've had one. So overall ministry goals of a gathering for the youth is to affirm and challenge in their faith, experience new perspectives, ponder their vocation, bond with their congregational group, and learn more about the ELCA and their partners. And to do that, it brings us into the theme for the gathering of 2024, which is created to be. We are created to be ourselves. We are created by the Holy One. Since the last youth gathering, we've experienced several major life events, which we are still experiencing today. It's ongoing public health crisis mixed with an economic and political crisis. However, we can rest assured that we are created to be in relationship with one another. The gathering is hoping to plan to dive deeper into justice, mental health, anti-racism conversations throughout the gathering. These can be hard conversations, but our church desperately needs to have them. So the theme created to be came from the Psalm 139, verse 14, which is, I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works that I know very well. So start soaking in those words, start incorporating that into your youth, which is a great psalm there. The daily themes you might have seen in that promo video are created to be brave, to show up with an open mind and heart willing to be challenged, created to be authentic, to bring our whole selves and know that we are loved by our Creator, created to be free, to be transformed by the gospel, created to be disruptive, to work for justice for all our siblings, and created to be created to be disciples, to be sent out into the world to love our neighbor like we are loved by God. Getting ready material will be available with lessons and activities for your groups to focus on each of these daily themes. All right. So I'd like to take some time to talk about the two pre-events that lead up to the youth gathering event, and that is Mile and the Table. So Mile is a pre-gathering event and one of the largest gatherings of people of color within the ELCA. Mile empowers young people of color and those whose primary language is not English to claim their story as part of God's story. And then the Table is for youth who live with varying disabilities. It focuses on the God-given gifts and abilities of all young people, particularly those the world labels as unable. So we're just going to go a little bit into each of these different type of pre-events. So here is one for Mile.
What would it look like if we lean in, listen, and explore our story, embracing exactly who God created us to be and celebrating our fully authentic selves? We invite you to join us for the 2024 Multicultural Youth Leadership Event, a spirit-inspired celebration of community where you are invited to be with other storytellers who seek to inspire, empower, and listen to each other's stories. Mile is the largest gathering of people of color in the ELCA, and we invite you to experience a spirit-led event in New Orleans. Will you join us?
All right, sorry, I think that video got a little stuck on my computer here for some reason. All right, so to attend the Mile event, it's similar as the youth gathering. So attendees must be within 8th to 12th grade at the time of registration. So fall of 2023, this fall. The cost for the first 1,000 participants will be waived. For Mile, and unlike the youth gathering, the registration fee will include housing and meals while in New Orleans. It just does not include the travel to and from New Orleans. Additional participants will also then need to still register and pay for all the fees for the youth gathering after the Mile event as well. All right, so that is Mile. We're going to take a look here now at the table. So hopefully this video won't get stuck on me.
Welcome to the table, the spot that belongs to you. The table is a unique gathering, intentional about welcoming youth who live with a wide range of physical, cognitive, and emotional disabilities so that they might grow as wise, faithful, and courageous witnesses. Our hope is that you would experience how you were created in the image of God to be wholly you. There's a spot that belongs to you at the table where Jesus is our host.
All right. Okay, so attendees for the table is a little different. So it's actually ages 14 to 18. And it's those who live with a wide range of physical, cognitive, or emotional disabilities. Youth who attend must be accompanied by an adult companion. One companion will receive a waived registration fee to attend the gathering following the table. The first 200 participants to register for the table will receive a waived registration fee. And again, that registration fee does include housing and meals during your time in New Orleans for the pre-gathering event, just not travel to and from. And there it is. And again, participants will still need to register and pay for all the fees for the youth gathering following the table, but one caregiver will receive a waived registration fee for the gathering then. All right, so those are the two pre-gathering events. Again, please stop me, or if you have a question, please unmute yourself or throw it in the chat. We can continue though. So something new that the ELCA gathering team has put together with the ELCA Young Adult Ministry is the Young Adult Gathering. It's basically, they created it because of the cancellations of the previous gatherings, which a lot of young people did lose the opportunity to come to the gathering. The Young Adult Gathering is for individuals who will be 18 to 35 at the time of the event, and participants will be split up into cohorts by age. Young adults will need to participate and undergo a background check prior to arriving on site, and they're also going to be housed separately, completely from the youth gathering section of that. All the programming as well is separate and in a different area from the youth gathering, but they are still welcome to attend the mass gathering at the end. Childcare will be provided. However, children are not allowed to attend the mass gathering at the end. Individuals who are interested in attending the Young Adult Gathering will need to register apart from the congregational group that is attending the gathering, the youth gathering. So many gatherings. All right, so it seems like most of us are familiar with attending the gatherings and the different type of programmings that we typically go throughout the day, but the young adult programming is a little bit different compared to the youth gathering programming. So it still operates on multiple programs over the span of 5 days. There's a large group gathering, which is a time to hear from keynote speakers and musicians who will interpret daily themes throughout the perspective of a young adult. There's also young adult cohorts, which will be bracketed by age and will last about 45 minutes each day. Each cohort will have a cohort leader, which will be accompanying them throughout the whole young adult gathering. Keep in mind though, that your cohort group will not necessarily be the people that you come to the event with. This is an opportunity to form new connections around the church. Another day would be the workshop time. The information I have is basically that there will be opportunities to attend 2 shorter workshops each day or 1 longer one. And you'll be able to have a choice of all different types of workshops. Unfortunately, it's very vague. I'm not too sure what the workshops are at this moment. That's all the details I have so far for that. There's a time for network time, which I think is similar to like the community life from previous gatherings. It's just a time to gather and celebrate various networks throughout the young adult ministry. And then again, all young adults are encouraged and welcome to come to the mass gathering every night as well. All right, so that is our young adult section, which again is completely new to the gathering. But we'll jump then into the overall youth gathering. So who can attend the gathering? It is youth in 8th grade to 12th grade at the time of registration. So fall of this year, they have to be in 8th to 12th grade. Adult leaders are welcome and to chaperone and must be at least 21 at the time of the gathering. So they must be 21 by July of 2024 next year. So just looking a little bit into our adult leaders. Overall, just be mindful that this event is designed for young people, not adults, and to bring those adult leaders to create a successful experience for your group. The gathering suggests the following ratios. I know a lot of adults get really excited to go to chaperone, but we just need to remember that this is a youth event and that you want to have good representation there and also good role models for your group. Again, all adult leaders must be 21 years or older at the time of the gathering, and they are required background checks before they arrive at the gathering. All adult leaders who register will also be required to take 2 courses on the G-Learning, which I will go over a little bit later what G-Learning is. Those 2 trainings will be implicit bias training and having hard conversations. These will be assigned to the adult leader and an account will be created for them, but these need to be completed before arriving to New Orleans, for you will not be able to check in until the courses have been completed. So make sure that all your adult leaders have filled out those 2 required trainings. Okay. And again, it seems like, most people on the call have been to the gathering previously. So this is typically the program, the gathering program for the youth gathering. Again, it operates on a multiple program over the span of the 5 days. There's the Synod Day, which is similar in the past. We'll start out by gathering together from Northeastern Pennsylvania. Synod will all gather together for about a 45 to 50-minute worship service. And then something that's a little bit different for this year is that there's a Synod experience. So this will actually allow us to pick an activity and go out into the host city to experience it. Those activities have not been picked yet, but I believe there's a meeting coming up shortly that will explain more of what kind of activities we can pick from. So that is it's similar, but a little bit different. The accompaniment day, it's just a change of word. It used to be formerly known as the service learning day. That's when your youth will go out into the host city and will be assigned one of the 3 areas of action, advocacy, or awareness. You'll have the opportunities to do service, be immersed in the host city culture and story, or learn about social injustice. So similar in the past, and again, if you've been to the event, it's kind of going out. I know in the past, when I was in New Orleans in 2012, we went out and removed a lot of debris from I think it was Sandy, or it was from a disaster from a hurricane. When I was up in Detroit, we did something similar. We had a couple of kids painting inside, a lot of doing kind of restruction. So it's type of that type of work, going out in the community and doing a service project, really. Interactive Learning Day, that's when your group will go to the Holy Playground, is what they call it, in the convention center, where congregations will be able to explore the theological and biblical themes of the gathering. utilizing multiple learning styles. So that will include zip lining. There's usually the bounce houses or some sort of bounce activities. I know there's sections to give blood. I believe there was a section to give hair last time I was at a gathering. They have prayer areas. There's a section where you can build the framing work of a wall. So it's a big convention center full of different activities and different ministry partners to be able for the youth to kind of go around. It does take the full day too. And then every night does end with the mass gathering, which will allow roughly, I mean, at least from the years past, it was 30,000 youth coming together in a super dome to hear from inspiring speakers, having uplift music. And there's usually a house band that will play songs that we typically recognize, or hymns or songs that are new. That will also be the closing worship time too. Will also be in the Superdome on that Saturday morning before departing home. Community life will follow the mass gathering. That's a time for youth to explore different properties of the hotel and their venues, to have time to connect with youth from around the country. And there's dance parties, there's singing parties. So there's all different type of events for them to do after the mass gathering. Something to keep in mind that might be, I think this is different from at least when I attended, the transportation will not be provided. It will only be provided for accompaniments day that are outside of the downtown city. So everything else should be within close proximity and be able to be walking distance. So there will be no transportation provided by the ELCA. If your congregation prefers transportation, that would be on your own then. Okay.
We walked everywhere in New Orleans.
All right, and then I just kind of came up with a little grid because these are the different activities. So within the 5 span days, Tuesday is your arrival day really, and you have the time to do the mass gathering and also community life. And then throughout Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that's when you're completing the synod day, the accompaniment day, the interactive day. And then the final day on Saturday is when the closing worship services, and then also the departure. A more detailed schedule can definitely be found on the ELC website. If you just go elca.org/gathering, it will take you to the overall gathering website, but I know they definitely have a more detailed schedule on there too. Okay, it's there. All right, so registration and pricing in different categories. This can be confusing looking. So there's 3 different types of registration. There's priority, regular, and late. So the earlier you register, the better. It's going to be the lower cost. It also is going to allow you to be that priority, and we'll go into priority next on exactly what that means. But please note too that these rates do not include hotel, meals, or travel costs. It did for mile and table, but it does not for the youth gathering. And this is per person as well. That was a question at the last meeting. Something to think about budgeting wise for meal, the planning team did suggest about $70 per person per day. That was 70 per person per day. Let's see. Oh, and financial aid. Financial aid is available for the congregations to utilize. Applications for that will open on September 15th. And then it will close on October 15th. So you will know by October 16th if your congregation qualifies for that or not. The primary adult is responsible for applying for this on behalf of the youth participant. Assistance is offered based on the financial need of the youth participants and their families. It's not the financial status of the congregation or the local communities. Financial assistance is available to youth participants only in the form of the registration fee credit. So financial assistance is not available for housing, transportation, or food. You can receive up to $225 per youth participant, and congregations may receive up to assistance for up to 10 youth. And I know this is a lot of information too. I will be sending out my PowerPoints to you all as well, so you'll have all this information as well. All right, so again, there are those 3 different categories. So let's take a look into what is priority. Priority is pretty great. So the earlier you register, the better. Congregations that register their groups during the priority registration will be given preferences on hotel location, the accompaniment theme, so the advocacy, the action and awareness. You would have your choice on which one you prefer first, or be able to rank them. And then also hotel pricing. The congregation does need to have a majority of its group registered during the priority registration in order to receive these benefits. Also, if you register in priority, you will also know which hotel you are staying at by the ELCA Youth Ministry Network Extravaganza, which is on January 15th. So of January of 2024, you would at least know of what hotel area or what location you'll be staying in by early next year, which is always helpful. So we've been saying it a lot, but the youth gathering for 2024 will be in New Orleans. It is the most hospitable and most friendly host city I think I've ever been at for a gathering. Everything is within close proximity and allows participants to be able to travel to and from all the different venues. There was a mention, and I know parents often ask about it. I know when I was a youth leader, parents asked about security and safety. And I think that's going to be a concern with parents no matter which city you're traveling to. It was mentioned in one of the ELCA planning meetings, and they may be coming out with a G-Learning course as well to talk about security and safety. But I know a couple of you have said too that you've traveled to New Orleans. I've never felt unsafe in New Orleans. Even in Detroit, when you're walking with 30,000 people, it's an amazing feeling, and it's just I think the city just embraces it, and it's a powerful experience. All right, so let's talk a little bit about housing. So housing, the average is about $175 plus tax, which has an average of 3 people per room. And again, early registration, if you register early, this cycle, housing will be assigned based on when you register a majority of your group. Another question that came up at the last meeting was if previously synods were typically housed together, they will not be housed together this time. It's more about when you register your group. All right. And then I know I've been mentioning it too, but G-Learning is a really awesome tool. I've been taking a lot of the courses, which I encourage you to as well. That's where I learned a lot of this information from, and you can find that at glearning.elca.org. It's basically, and like it says right there, your online hub for courses and trainings related to the gathering. So it will give you all the different information. You can honestly pick and choose which one you want to watch too. You also don't need to watch all the information. It has some great resources in there too. There's a budget that they kind of made a rough budget that you can utilize to help you budget for each youth in there. But it's a really good tool, and I definitely recommend it. Again, it will be required for two courses will be required for your adult leaders that are attending too.
Oh, that's for courses.
Okay. All right, and then just some upcoming dates to keep in mind. Volunteers, if you have any adult volunteers or anybody in your congregation that would want to volunteer, the volunteer application date was supposed to be on June 15th. It is currently tentative. They are having some problems with the third party right now. But if you go to the ELCA webpage, right at the top, it talks about volunteers and it has all the information on there. So if you have any volunteers, just direct them to the page so they can be able to see how to volunteer for the event. And that is supposed to go until August 15th, but I believe they may be extending that because of this holdup. Keep September 15th in mind for priority registration. That goes until November 1st. Again, that's going to be your lowest tier of registration, plus also gives you all the perks there. Spring 2024, we are hoping to have a synod pre-gathering event here locally before we go over, so we can all come together, get to know each other, our synod is huge, so it'd be great to have everybody come together before traveling to New Orleans. So I am the Gathering Synod champion, but we do actually have representatives from each mission district as well who is helping me out. They're going to be helping out planning that event. So we have the different voices from all of our mission districts. So it's not just from the Lehigh Valley. So it's not just the Lehigh Valley voice. We have them from Poconos and all the way down to Reading in the West Berks area. So they'll be helping out with that too. Something else that we're considering, because I know coming back from the pandemic and COVID, I'm sorry I said it, but coming back from all that, we're not getting the numbers as many youth that might have 10 pre-COVID. So we're considering too possibly having mission district groups go together. So in case you only have one or two and you're not able to have a group from a congregation center, we're considering having mission district reps too, but we're going to take that in consideration as we hear from the congregations and their needs. Yeah, so that's really all I got for you. Again, here is my contact information if you ever need anything, but this is the time if you have any questions that you've thought about throughout the presentation. If there's anything I can do to help you out, if there's information that you're saying, you know what, Stacy, that would really help. Can you get that or ask the ELCA planning team? I want to help you out and I want to encourage you to go as much as you can because I've been there. I know most of you have been there too. It's such a great and amazing experience that I think all the youth and adult representatives will love. So I'm going to leave this open for Q&A. Again, I will be sending you my PowerPoints because that was a lot of information too. So if that's helpful, I'll be emailing them out. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see your faces here. There you are.
Hey, Stacy, can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you so much for presenting this information. To be totally candid, this is my first time taking a group to the gathering. So I was taking a lot of notes and I wrote down the $175 plus tax for 3 people per room for housing. Is that per night or is that like total? And is that for 3 people or is that for 1?
So that was a suggestion by the ELCA. I would think that's per night. And I wouldn't say per person because typically I'm thinking it's double rooms and you wouldn't be paying per person per room. So I would say $175 per night.
They're thinking that's about what it would be.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And is there a reason they're saying 3 people per room and not 4? Like, are the rooms set up in a way that it's 3 beds? I don't know if you would know that, but I'm just trying.
Yeah, I thought that was strange too. I'm not sure if they're thinking a chaperone in there too, but I know we've had 4 youth in one room before, but I thought that was a little strange. I'm not sure why it was 3.
Okay. So it could be 4, like if it's a double bed situation or 2 bed. Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And the last question I had was, we do have a big group that was going to go to the last one in 2022. And I'm not necessarily sure if they're still, I think they were disappointed, but if I can get them to want to go and they do kind of fit that mold of the 18 to 35 range, I know there's supposed to be a point adult leader for the gathering, which would be me, but would I technically need another leader for that group? Because it seems like they would be doing different things at different times.
Correct. I don't believe they need an adult leader for that. A question at the last meeting was if any G-learning courses was required for the adult young adult gathering, and they said no. So I mean, I think if you're 18 and older, you would not need a chaperone for that.
Okay, so they're kind of on their own,
Correct.
adult situation. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I know I had a couple of people at the last meeting who were mainly there for the young adult section, and it sounds really cool. I think I'm really happy that they did that because it kind of bummed me out when they canceled the last one and a whole bunch of youth weren't able to go. So I'm happy that they're doing something. And it sounds really neat. Like, honestly, I'm thinking maybe I'll pop over. So, yeah. And I still have some brochures too. I took these to the assembly. So if anybody was at the assembly, I think most of this information actually is in my PowerPoints, but it has all the pricing and everything. I can mail any of them out if anybody wants these specifically. That's an option too, but yeah. But I'm here. If any questions pop up while you're starting to explore this, definitely let me know. It can be crazy.
Hey, Stacy. You said 70 per day for food planning.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
Thank
again that was a
you.
suggestion. Yeah. Yeah. I guess that would be for 3 meals. It seems. Yeah. And
Thank
the
you.
food's so good. The food's so good in New Orleans. I love it.
Oh, Stacy?
Mhm.
Yeah, I had a question just following up about the housing. So when it's $175 per night with 3 people in a room, does that mean those 3 people split up that $175 basically per night? It's not $175 per person, but it's $175 divided between, between the 3 people.
Correct. That's how I'm taking it. And I mean, I also worked in the travel industry for a little bit there. So I would think it's per room because typically they're not counting how many people in a room. It's usually just a one. If it's a double room, it's 100 and whatever. So I would say it's 175 plus tax divided up by those 3 people, possibly 4. I'm not sure again why they're saying 3.
And I know when we also registered for, I guess it was 2020, whenever it was supposed to go to Minneapolis. And actually all the kids at St. Paul's qualified for the financial aid, which was wonderful. But from what you're saying, basically you apply for the I think we applied before at the time of registration. Like when you register, you apply for that financial aid, and that's how that works at the same time, basically.
I'm not too sure on that. I can definitely
Okay.
double check though.
All right.
I mean, registration for, or the application for financial aid opens on September 15th, and that's
So
when
the
it
same
starts.
day.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And then it closes October 15th, which is a little bit earlier before the closing of the registration.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess they're trying to encourage people to use that priority registration.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Casey, and thinking about the adult leaders, and you said that they needed to have background checks. Are we submitting, like we keep them on file at church, are we just submitting them, or do you have to run a specific one on your own of background checks?
That is another great question. I'm going to take that back to the planning team because I don't know that one offhand, but that's a really good question just to know in general. So I appreciate that. And I'm going to double check and get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because it also says for young adults, they also need to go under a background check. So that would even be good to know too, if they're, I'm questioning too, because I think every state has different background checks, or?
There's like a PA criminal, there's like a, there's the different state criminal ones, but then I think there's like FBI might be separate. I'm not positive on that.
Yeah, me neither. I'll double check, but that's really good. Okay. Good questions. I love it. And Amber, I'm sorry, you're from is it Holy Spirit Emmaus?
Yeah.
Okay.
I attended from Holy Spirit, and now I run the youth group there. So it's really come full circle.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
I just don't know what I'm doing yet.
Uh-huh. Well, if there's no other questions, I mean, again, if there's questions, please let me know, but feel free to email me. Again, I'm going to be emailing you out the PowerPoint, so you'll have my email address right there. I have all your contact information, so if I get anything new and exciting, I'll definitely keep you all included in that communication too. Yep. All right, well, I appreciate you all coming tonight. I think this is wonderful. I really am excited. I hope you are too. But I'm going to let you go. And again, any questions, feel free to give us a call at the office. You'll most likely hear me or email me. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a
Thank
good night.
you.
Bye.